if you're straight and you want to become gay,
good luck with that.
No, I have great news. You're not straight. You want to be gay. That means you're not straight. Like, you're married to a man, and you're like, oh man, I really wish I was with a woman. Okay, great news though. You can.
You can, yes.
You can. You can do whatever you want. Actually, go for it, honey. You can be gay. You could be as gay as you want to be, and then you could be extra gay on Tuesdays as a treat. I don't care. Like, yeah. No, that's funny.
It's not a choice, was my point.
All right, it is not a choice. No, I'm just joking. But like, I just thought that was so funny. You're like, if you're straight and you want to be gay, no, you can't. Well, if you want to be gay, you're not.
Absolutely try. You go ahead and try.
Yeah, my hypothesis is that if you want to be straight, you are. Or if you want to be gay, you are not. Because if you're, if you're gay and you want to be straight, you can't.
Right.
Also, same thing. No, you can't. You are who you are. You can't change it. It won't change.
You can really try and be in the closet, and people have been in the closet.
You could be in the closet, or for life, yeah.
Yes, I did go in the closet so I could do my military service, and then in 2015, when it became legal for me to be in the military, I walked up to my commanding officer and said, hello, I am gay, and he said, I know, get back to work. Like, it's not a big deal.
Right. Do you feel like there was any kind of gender bias when it came to being gay in the military as a woman versus male counterparts?
No. And that's what's interesting with all of the controversy with gender in society, is that we were genderless in the military. We were all sailors. We were all recruits. We were all minions. We were not male or female. We were just marching. We were just exercising. We were just doing our job. And I remember at one point there was a notable time when I was an aircraft structural mechanic, and at one point they put 3 females out on the safety check to do the safety circle around the bird, which is a helicopter. We worked on HM-15, the Black Hawk helicopters. Anyway, so we did the safety check, and when we came back in to go check in with the supervisor, he was like, he didn't even realize until after the fact. So it was after the fact. He was like, I just realized I sent 3 females, like it was an all-female crew to do the safety check. Mm-hmm. And he didn't even think twice about it. It was after the fact that he noticed that he was like, cool, y'all were all competent to do so.
Yeah.
But it's traditionally, for those who don't know, that job in the military, an aircraft structural mechanic, is traditionally a male job. And usually a bit misogynistic in terms of, you're in the shop 12 hours on, 12 hours off, covered in hydraulic fluid.
Speaking of a bit misogynistic, am I the only one who I am almost triggered at this point when someone says female? I immediately am on the defense. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Female means AFAB? What do you mean?
No, I feel like female is most often been co-opted by misogynistic people. These females this, these females that. I hear it and I see it online so much.
I don't get offended by words, I guess, because that old kindergarten, there was that like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I tell my children, sticks and stones may break your bones, but sometimes words hurt worse. And that's because, words can leave invisible wounds that stay on you forever. Now, I'm not saying that's the difference of like, female, using the word female or incidentally using the wrong word. But like in the case of the conversion therapy, sticks and stones can break your bones, but sometimes words hurt worse. There are people who have gone through talk therapy that has healed them.
Mm-hmm. I have an example, a question actually. Mm-hmm. If somebody said something to you about having an extra chromosome, would you take that with a negative connotation?
No.
Me neither. Okay. So,
in fact, I think I might, I have fetal alcohol syndrome sometimes, but maybe that's my OCD. I don't know.
Apparently that's a bit of an insult, and I was just unaware.
How is that an insult?
I don't know.
What was the context?
The context was a Facebook argument on, because I think it was on my birthday, I decided to start like a civil discourse on my page. And so one of the comments said something about, now I'm trying to remember what it actually said. But the part that came up with that, no, it's gone. It's like, you know how that brain fog, something's going on in your head, and it's like,
on the regular brain.
and it's like an etch-a-sketch. The brain just etch-a-sketches and it's gone.
I don't even know what my head is doing most of the time.
Are you going to do my makeup too?
I can't.
Okay.
I don't have a costume planned.
No, you don't need a costume. My hair is green.
True.
That is enough.
We kind of have a Cosmo and Wanda thing going on. I was going to do a skeleton since you've got skeletons in front of your house.
Cool.
And I did a skeleton last night. I'll do like a day skeleton. And like last night I did like a night skeleton. So maybe I can cut them. Like transition them or something. It'd be fun. That could be fun. 2 skeletons in a row. Maybe I'll do 2 costumes today now.
Oh, but back to, for a second, the conversion therapy. Because it is such a hot topic, it is a slow burn. Because they just heard oral arguments October of 2025,
Yeah.
they're not expected to make a decision on that until June of 2026.
Wow.
Yes.
No, I think my biggest shock on this is that they still have conversion therapy. And also, I mean, I guess I go back to what I asked you about the military as well. Is there a gender bias in this? Who are we seeing being sent to this conversion therapy? Is it just kind of equal across the board?
I think it's a parental decision. So if a parent wants their child to be different, and that is something I did see when I worked inpatient. When I worked inpatient, I would see parents who said, "Fix my child." And I would have to tell them, "There's nothing wrong with your child. You need therapy." And I would say it in the nicest way possible. But yeah, it's the adult oftentimes who has something going on that is unprocessed, or maybe that they could have something shift within themselves.
A good amount of the time, yeah.
Yes. And so there's oftentimes nothing at all wrong with the child. And if that child wants to play with Barbies instead of G.I. Joes, who cares?
So it's like people who have that social construct in their mind already that they need to be different, that their child needs to be
or
different.
that their child is broken in some way, shape, or form. I have one time had to set a boundary with a family that just said, "Can you instill values into our child?" And I said, "I cannot, whether they're yours or mine. I cannot instill values. I cannot give advice, but what I can do is help your child identify and process whatever's going on for them." And they said, "Thank you. We'll be taking our services elsewhere." And I said, "Thank you."
Okay, so they wanted that
They were
typical
asking for
Oklahoman vibe of can you instill? Oh my gosh.
Without asking, it was like asking for conversion therapy without asking for conversion therapy.
How terrifying. Like, how truly terrifying, honestly. I can't imagine. So what can a kid do? What can a kid do if their parent has chosen this terrible, I mean, in my opinion, terrible choice? And if anybody disagrees and thinks conversion therapy is helpful, they're more than welcome to let me know. But I can think of no way that is a positive. But like, what should a child do? Do you know what rights they have or anything along those lines?
Unfortunately, at least in the state of Oklahoma, children have less rights than adults. And at least for myself, seeing ages 15 and up, I offer minors the same rights as adults. What that means is I will only break confidentiality if they have those 3 legal exceptions. So, if they're a danger to themselves or others, if they're going to abuse or neglect of a child, elderly, or disabled person, or domestic violence in front of a minor child, that kind of thing, those I would have to report, But if it's anything else, I offer the same confidentiality that I would an adult. But in the state of Oklahoma, a minor does not have the same confidentiality, and that clinician can go and tell the parent, basically, if they're self-harming, if they're using drugs, if they're doing anything self-destructive, they can absolutely tell that parent. And that's usually within the realm of the informed consent. They would tell the child, I can tell your parent if you tell me this. I would hope they would tell the child that. Like,
Yeah.
that's within informed consent. Like,
You want them to.
if they're not telling the child that, that's a really shady clinician. But generally, it's, you know, between me, you, and your parent, and that's going to be the bounds of confidentiality. And especially if it's like family therapy or something. And I'll tell them in family therapy too, if it's going to be like, let's say it's dad and son and clinician. Okay, the confidentiality is between the three of us,
Yeah.
not between the two of us or the two of us. And the same goes for like couples therapy too. But like having the confidentiality in that way eliminates secret keeping. And then also in the terms of having the same confidentiality for minors that I offer to adults, it allows them the freedom to speak freely and not worry about what I'm going to go tell their parents. So I don't do the school counseling. And so a lot of times people will go, I used to, once upon a time, you would go into a school, pull the kid out of class, do the counseling for an hour, and that's what school counseling is. And usually you would then like have the consent forms and you would be able to report back to the teacher, the parents, sometimes the court, depending on what's going on.
The teacher?
Depending on the case and depending on the consent forms, because you want to have written consent to talk to whoever you're going to be talking to. And so, like, I've even had, like, when I worked with court cases, you would have the ability to talk to the DHS caseworker, the teacher, the mom, the foster mom, the therapist would have the ability to talk to all of these people.
Okay.
Not that they necessarily would be talking to them, but they would.
could.
They could, yes.
They could. Okay. So
But
I will say,
all with consent.
first of all, parents don't put clinicians in that position. I don't ask about your kid's private information. Why did you put them in therapy if you don't want it to work as intended?
But at the same time, be involved.
Be involved, yes, but don't put them in therapy so you can get the freaking gossip or the backstory, you know?
Whenever a kid is grilled after therapy, that's gotta be the worst. Like, they get into the car after therapy. What'd you talk about today? What'd you say about me? That's irrelevant.
You want them to talk about you. Your child's therapist is generally on your side. If you're not a total piece of something, your child's therapist is there to help you and your child connect better in most scenarios.
Right. They're there to enhance your child's life in whatever way is most helpful. And it is medical treatment. It's not just a conversation.
No.
Just because there is not a scalpel being used does not mean that there is not significant brain work being done. Because there's this thing called neuroplasticity. You know what that is?
I do.
Yeah,
I
the
do.
neurons that fire together wire together, so they can teach an old dog new tricks. That
And
is
the fact that your brain
bold
is
statement.
always growing.
Yes.
It is
Neurons.
always growing.
And
in
it
fact,
wiggles a lot more than we originally thought with that Neuralink that got put in that guy's brain.
Yeah.
It wiggles a lot more than we originally thought.
interesting.
But yeah, so I think that with the neural changes that happen in therapy, that can be a really useful thing that happens for somebody. But when you put somebody in for changes and you expect neural changes to happen that are going to be iatrogenic, which again, that means harmful. If it's going to be harmful, like conversion therapy, you're setting yourself up for having a future society full of medical patients. And how is that helpful for our community?
Well, and
as a
the
whole?
mind-body connection is clearly defined and established. We've talked about this before. In fact, we just got done discussing it with Trauma Talk and my narcolepsy diagnosis and all of that. The mind-body connection is so significant that, you know, you can quite literally get brain damage from being abandoned. Like, that is a real thing. They can run an MRI scan on your brain and your significant trauma is maybe a parental abandonment. They can run a scan on your brain and they can see the areas of your brain do not light up.
Did you know that they're doing those fMRI brain scans to see, like, in our imagination, basically, if what we can imagine in our mind and then have our body feel like it's happening, about to happen, or just happened.
What's it called?
fMRI brain scans, and they're studying our imagination. Basically, how strong is our imagination? And so it's like our imagination is so strong, our body can feel like it's actually happening or just happened or about to happen.
Oh yeah, for
even though
sure.
it hasn't. And the best example I can give for this is virtual reality. I've ridden a roller coaster in the virtual reality and had to like hold on to my chair because I felt like the roller coaster was really moving.
Wow.
And there's videos online of people just busting their TVs and running into walls.
I've seen stuff like that for sure. I've seen people with like, I won't even put those VR headsets on. I get so dizzy sometimes. I'm not trying to be that dizzy. But that said, what, so do they have you conscious? They hook you up to the machine and they tell you to imagine things?
I imagine that's how it goes. Yes. I don't know what they're having them imagine. I haven't done a deep dive into the studies that they're doing. I looked this up a couple years ago. I don't even know what brought that up. Oh, it was the MRI brain scans that brought that up.
Interesting.
Because we were talking about how the amygdala lights up more with like post-traumatic stress. And you were talking about how it lights up more.
Yeah, but well, no, it lights up less.
Oh, less. If
you've had significant traumas that are even emotional, not just physical traumas. Those photos, anybody can go look them up, but there's photos of a brain experiencing PTSD, a brain experiencing having been strangled or having had domestic violence. I mean, that physical and non-physical. So what can we do about this?
Advocacy.
Okay.
I've already emailed the American Counseling Association Advocacy Department to see what I can do as a clinician to volunteer a little bit more. But as a civilian, I would say write your legislators, write your Congress people. They're not making the decision of the Supreme Court, like I said, until June of 26. So whoever our representatives are in our local community, they have pull with the Supreme Court. So the Congress people, while not directly related to the Supreme Court, they have their phone numbers, right? Mm-hmm. You can also write directly to the Supreme Court. You can subscribe to their information stuff. I've subscribed to get information about when they're putting out their decisions. So I'll know when that happens. But you can call your representatives, you can write to people, you can make social media infographics if that's your jam. But I would say doing more than just the social media stuff would be getting out and doing advocacy work, community stuff, not just going to the social media things and doing the protests. Like, yes, protests are cool, but I mean, if somebody walks up to you at a protest and says, "Hi, why are you here today?" and you can't answer, then that's not effective. Why are you there? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not effective.
There's also, I don't know if you've ever heard of Day of Silence.
I have not.
Day of Silence is one that we used to do back when I was in school. I think it's still around, but basically Day of Silence is where for the whole day, the LGBT plus community is silent. And then at like 5 o'clock or whatever, there's like a breaking of the silence. So actually the Day of Silence for 2025, I'm going to look it up real quick. It was Friday, April 4th. But it also says Friday, April 11th. But anyway, you observe the day by taking a vow of silence. You don't speak at work or school. You can wear a little badge that says why you're not speaking. And then you basically, at the end of the day, break that silence and educate people. I used to get up on a podium and educate people in high school. I haven't done any of that kind of advocacy in a while. But it's just basically to raise awareness about the harmful effects of discrimination, harassment against LGBT plus people, not just in schools, but in any environment.
I like that. How would you recommend in this kind of scary time, like, how would you recommend that someone who maybe feels like they're in danger of this, like a child, maybe a high school or something along those lines, feels like they're in danger of this, how would you recommend they just kind of deal with that emotional toll then? Because they're almost necessitated to remain in the closet. Oh. They're not going to be able to do that kind of advocacy if they feel they're in danger of this. What should they do to take care of themselves until they can get to a place and space where they are free to be themselves.
It's interesting that you said in this scary time.
Yes.
Because it's always been a scary time.
True.
Depending on your point in time.
True.
And so one of the things that I would say is listen to PSAs. When I was a kiddo, I saw a PSA from a bunch of older people that actually said it gets better. And I believed them. So I stuck around.
All right. And that is so
and it
correct.
does get better.
It does get better. It keeps getting better. And that's a message. I think even when you're in the depths of hell, you should know it does and can and will get better, because that's the nature of life. Everything ebbs and flows. You know, 1 minute you're going.
But a combination of, to answer your question, I would say a combination of two things. One, being in the moment, because being in the moment with your breath, with your mind, with are you hydrated, are you fed, or that kind of thing is useful. But also being future focused, having like some people have a vision board, some people have a diary, some people have a mental picture of what their life will be one day, and remembering that right now, this is temporary, whatever the dumpster fire may be.
Well, and I would say as a mom, I would tack onto that, you know, that you mentioned that thing about forethought. I can already hear in my head how some of my kids would react to that, which would be, but I have no idea what I want to be. That's fine. That's fine. You're good. You're good. Most people don't. Most people don't. Honestly, I would think more people don't know than do know. But
and that's normal.
I think having a goal of reaching contentment is a great way
any
to
goal
manage
is
that.
fine. Like, have any goal.
Yeah.
I had
Any
a goal
goal.
when I was a kid of, being an entrepreneur. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew at about the age of 9 or 10 that I was going to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. And now I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 2. So I exceeded those expectations. But I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. I knew I was going to have a business. And at the time, I think it was like cat's crafts, because I made like little beads and stuff. But I had that entrepreneurial like mindset. So I had a goal in mind of how I was going to be a grown up. And then I got to be a grown up, and I look back at my 10-year-old self and I say, thank you, little girl.
Thank you for having a goal.
And now when I'm 37, I'm going to be looking back at myself when I'm 67 going, thank you, young woman. Like, thank you for making the decisions that you did at that age. And that's what I think will be helpful for people if they remember the future in that way. If you've ever heard of that term, remembering the future, what would be good to have done, right? So it would be good to have walked those 2 miles. So go ahead and walk those 2 miles.
Interesting.
Speaking of which, I got a walking pad for my birthday.
Nice. I love that.
It was a really cool one. But yeah, so that's what I would say is just the mindfulness of the moment and the future focused goals in mind. This situation is temporary. And if you got to be in the closet, remember it's temporary.
Well, and I used to say I still say sometimes, when the kids don't want to eat something, but that's what we've got for dinner, you can eat food you don't like to reach the eventual goal. You can. You may not enjoy it, but you can do it. And I had to learn that myself because I'm an incredibly picky eater. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, you can do it. And having that self-confidence in yourself, I would imagine, is really important. That can be probably hard to reach if you've got parents that disagree with who you are,
and instilling that self-confidence can be a goal of therapy. To increase one's self-confidence can be a tangible goal to reach. But if you're going into a therapeutic environment that's saying you're broken and let's fix you, then how are you going to increase your self-confidence? How are you going to be anything other than not good enough?
I don't think that I could go to therapy. I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but can a good therapist even say that?
Well, good and bad, I think, are like all or nothing terms.
That they need to fix someone. That they're broken and they need to be fixed.
Right. No therapist is going to tell you that you're broken, but a
No.
conversion therapist might tell you that you
Oh, conversion
can
therapists are like
be
it.
healed. And that is just a veiled way of saying that you need to be fixed.
Okay, so they're just. I forget that these people are quantifying the human experience as mental illness.
Right. And
Yeah.
homosexuality was taken out of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Illnesses in 1973. That's like over 20 years ago. Over 25 years ago.
Right.
Over 50 years ago. Wow, math. 50 years ago.
I agree with Barbie. Math is hard. They never should have taken that Barbie away. Math is incredibly hard.
Math is incredibly hard, but you can use mnemonic devices and songs, and I still know the quadratic formula.
I always did our English work and she did our math.
Right, because I know that x equals negative b plus or minus square root. Yeah, I'm not going to finish it. And then when I got to college, because she did my English work, they handed me an elementary grammar book and said, girl, you got to learn this to get through college. And I did. I absolutely did. And I got my thesis written, which one day maybe I'll publish. I don't know. It's becoming relevant again. I never published it.
It is absolutely relevant again, especially after what certain someone said in a speech recently. That said, okay, that's all the time we have for right now on Therapy Unlocked. We'll be back and I'll be spookier. We'll see you later. Have a good one.
Later.
Goodbye.
That's all the time we have for today on Therapy Unlocked. Please join us next time as we continue the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we continue the journey to unlock the mind, one conversation at a time.
What I talk about today should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That is it. That's the disclaimer.